Harley-Davidson has just announced that they're spinning off their very own dedicated electric bicycle company known as the Serial 1 Cycle Company. And while they won't be releasing their full production models until next March, they are showing off today their first design experiment, their words not mine, which is an electric bicycle based on the very first ever Harley-Davidson motorcycle, which was known as the Serial Number 1, which, as you can probably tell, is where the Serial 1 Cycle Company gets its name. Now, as you may or may not know if you've been following my reporting on this on Electrek, Harley-Davidson has actually been in the process of developing electric bicycles for the past 2 years. They first released some concept sketches along with their More Roads to Harley-Davidson plan that included other electric motorbikes and electric mopeds, and then last August they released more images of 3 different models of electric bicycles showing mid-drive motors and belt-drive setups. And then last year at the 2019 Milan Motorcycle Show, I got a first look at the 3 actual Harley-Davidson electric bicycle prototypes up close and in the flesh, and it was pretty impressive to see them like that. It was the first time they were ever shown off in the flesh, and they definitely looked the part of premium electric bicycles. But then, like everything, Harley's plans for releasing the bikes were thrown off by the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was only today that we actually learned that Harley would spin off their own electric bicycle company to bring these e-bikes to market. Now, like I said, the bike that we're seeing today is not the full production version. It's just a design experiment that pays homage to that first Harley-Davidson motorcycle. But even so, if you look at the frame, it's nearly identical to that of one of the original Harley-Davidson e-bike prototypes. So that's a pretty good indication that this is the base of a real Harley-Davidson e-bike, albeit perhaps with a different colorway and slightly different components. When it comes to the components, there are some interesting things to see here too. Some things like the fancy Brooks saddle and those beautiful leather grips may not make it onto the real production bikes, but others are likely headed to showrooms. We can see there's a mid-drive motor and what looks like a Gates belt drive with their center drive setup. And that would make sense since Harley-Davidson already works with Gates for the belt drive systems on their belt-driven motorcycles, including the all-electric Livewire. Now, I don't know if the production version will have a brown belt like that, and that's probably part of the homage to those first leather belts that were found on the original Harley-Davidson motorcycles, but I'd be willing to bet that we'll see a Gates belt drive on the Harley-Davidson e-bikes somehow. Next, we can see that the company has integrated the lighting, with the front headlight in the head tube and the rear taillights actually built into the rear triangle just behind the dropouts, which is a fascinating way to integrate those taillights. I'm not sure if putting the lights that low is a great idea, but it looks pretty nice, that's for sure. It also looks like the battery is probably removable via the down tube, where it kind of curves into the frame. I don't see a handle there, but there's a parting line, which seems like this would make it a pretty obvious way to remove the battery here. The brakes we can see are hydraulic, and while Harley-Davidson isn't saying which brakes they're using, I'm pretty sure these are Tektro calipers. The discs themselves are definitely Tektros. We can see the serial number here. They're also 203mm, which is pretty awesome and should give great stopping power. Other than that, there's not a whole lot more I can glean here. I mean, the bike looks beautifully designed, but of course we're going to have to wait for the production version until I can give my full and fair judgment.